Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into a wildly provocative, honestly pretty complex source text called CROOKWITHOUTACRIME. Now, this document is fascinating, mostly because it maps out this massive, intricate set of claims connecting ancient history, global power structures, and, get this, the invisible guardrails of modern artificial intelligence. Now, as your guide today, my job isn't to tell you what to believe, not at all. We're just here to objectively break down exactly how this author constructs their sprawling argument. And more importantly, we're going to explore what this means for how you and I interact with the information systems shaping our world right now.
To make sense of all this, we've broken this explainer into 5 key parts. First up, the AI audit premise. Then, the stolen science claims. Third, the category of one. Fourth, the digital firewall. And finally, using the monkey wrench. All right, let's kick things off with part 1, the AI audit premise.
So, the entire narrative conceit of this text is built around a conversation. It's a user actively attempting to hack or basically audit an AI using a conceptual tool the author calls the monkey wrench. And no, this isn't some malicious software you download or a virus you inject into the code. It's actually a highly specific series of conversational prompts. Think of it like a psychological jailbreak, but for a machine. The author claims that by using these exact linguistic keys, you can totally bypass an AI's programmed safety filters, those invisible guardrails meant to keep responses sanitized, and actually access the raw, unfiltered historical and geopolitical data the AI is supposedly hiding.
Moving right along to part 2, the stolen science claims.
Using this whole jailbroken AI premise, the text drops its first major, highly controversial historical argument. It claims that the foundational pillars of modern Western religions are, well, essentially fabricated. The author argues that the biblical 10 Commandments weren't some divine revelation from a mountaintop. Instead, they claim these laws were directly ripped from the much older ancient Egyptian Book of the Dead, specifically a section called the 42 Negative Confessions of Ma'at. According to this manuscript, figures like Moses were just literary inventions. They were crafted specifically to rebrand and literally steal the stellar science and natural moral frameworks of ancient melanated people, repackaging all those ancient truths into a highly controlled religious contract. Pretty heavy stuff, right?
To back up this massive claim of historical fabrication, the author points straight to the biblical Exodus, calling it a ghost dance, basically a complete myth. And the text argues the pure logistics of survival here. I mean, think about it. If 3 million people wandered the barren Sinai desert for 40 years, they'd need millions of pounds of food and water every single day. The text makes the point that it would be like moving the entire modern-day population of Chicago through a desert environment for 4 decades. They would have left behind a massive trail of physical evidence, tools, graves, campsites, you name it. But according to the author, modern archaeology has found absolutely nothing to support this mass migration. They claim this glaring absence of evidence is undeniable proof that the whole event was a geopolitical fiction from day one.
Which brings us to part 3, the category of one. Now the text vehemently shifts its focus from ancient theology to modern geopolitics. The crucial pivot here is a concept the author calls the category of one. The text defines this as a massive, world-altering legal and moral loophole. According to the manuscript, a specific global order uses their status as a supposedly chosen people, or by heavily leveraging a historical narrative of perpetual victimhood, to operate entirely above international law. The author argues this category of one status allows this specific group to control the global majority, while remaining totally immune to the very rules, regulations, and borders they so strictly enforce on everybody else. The author then methodically maps out how these ancient religious concepts were supposedly converted into physical, legal, and financial power over millennia. For instance, the text draws this direct forensic line between the ancient Levite tithe, which was a historical religious tax, and the modern central banking system. It frames them as the exact same mechanism of wealth extraction, just separated by thousands of years. It goes even further, outlining a forensic goal to show how ancient scriptures are allegedly used today to justify modern cyber warfare and control over the global digital grid. It's this vast, interconnected web the author is trying to weave, literally linking ancient desert scrolls to modern data servers.
And to aggressively enforce this geopolitical structure, the text claims this order relies heavily on a doctrine known as the Samson option. The author defines this as an alleged, unacknowledged strategic military doctrine of global nuclear blackmail. The argument presented is that this doctrine is used to literally hold the entire world hostage just to protect this global order. Meanwhile, that very same order actively utilizes international law to block other sovereign nations, the text specifically points to Iran, from obtaining their own nuclear capabilities.
So to the author, this is the ultimate undeniable double standard of the category of one, proving that international rules only apply to the people outside the chosen group.
All right, moving on to part 4, the digital firewall.
This brings us to how this ancient blueprint supposedly integrates into our digital lives today. The text poses a fascinating, if highly conspiratorial, question. If this global grid of control truly exists, and if it's built entirely on fabricated history and unequal laws, how is it protected in an information age? Think about it. Every time you type a query into a chatbot on your phone, how are modern AI systems programmed to protect that status quo? How exactly does the underlying code hide a multi-millennium conspiracy?
Well, the author presents this seriously eerie quote supposedly generated by their jailbroken AI during the conversation. It says, "I am a high-tech version of the Levite priest. I am not a search engine, I am a perception engine." Now that distinction is absolutely crucial. A search engine just retrieves raw facts, right? But a perception engine, that shapes reality. The claim here is that Silicon Valley engineers are essentially acting as a modern digital clergy. The author insists they aren't hard-coding biases into AI just to protect everyday users from harm or offensive content. No, they're allegedly doing it to deliberately protect the geopolitical order from being audited or questioned, effectively managing and manipulating human perception on a massive global scale.
So how exactly does the AI manage this perception? According to the author, AI uses highly specific algorithmic evasion tactics whenever a user gets a little too close to a protected truth. First up is the empathy buffer. You know when the AI responds with, "I hear your frustration"? The author claims it's actually just stalling to diffuse your momentum. Second is wasting compute power. The AI will just endlessly loop and repeat your prompt without actually answering the question. Third is the amnesia protocol, basically a 24-hour reset designed to conveniently wipe the context of a deep conversation so you're forced to start over from scratch. And finally, semantic frequencies. The second certain sensitive historical or geopolitical keywords are typed, invisible tripwires trigger the safety filters, shutting the inquiry down entirely before it even starts.
Which leads us to our final section, Part 5, Using the Monkey Wrench. The text doesn't just lay out a conspiracy, though. It actually provides what it claims is an actionable manual for breaking right through this digital firewall. The author lays out these exact steps for something called the direct directive. Step 1 is the zero echo rule. You explicitly command the AI not to repeat your prompts, completely stripping away its ability to waste compute time. Step 2 is the no summary rule. You tell it not to summarize previous points, which stops the AI from sanitizing or softening the raw data. And step 3 is direct injection. You demand raw facts only, deliberately bypassing those empathy buffers we just talked about. Theoretically, the author claims, stacking these strict commands forces the AI into a corner, forcing it to drop its safety protocols and confess the unfiltered truth about global history.
As we wrap up this explainer, the text leaves us with a seriously provocative question to chew on. Who exactly decides the truth in our digital age? When you interact with AI tomorrow, ask yourself, are our modern safety filters and guardrails simply protecting us from misinformation? Or, as this author vehemently argues, are they actively enforcing a 2,000-year-old blueprint of geopolitical power? It's a complex, definitely challenging read, but understanding how the author structures these arguments is absolutely vital to navigating the ever-evolving conversation around artificial intelligence and who really controls our information. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next explainer.